All right. We are now back with the Wolverine series. We're following up on X-Men 3, The Last Stand. And I think that it's important to watch this movie then. That's kind of part of why we pull First Class back. Because I think that there is a lot of, like, the parts that I like the most about this movie are those parts where Mangold is trying to kind of redeem these elements of X3. Like, he's trying to...
No doubt.
Like, these Gene moments that he has, like, really the whole character arc, I think, of what's driving him to kind of go live out in the wilderness. Is it something that maybe gets done a little too much by the end of this franchise?
Yep.
Perhaps. But I think that I like it as a follow-up. I like it as a bridge from X3 to Days of Future Past. And I really think that Hugh Jackman is generally doing great work here. I mean, I think Mangold just clearly gets good performances out of Hugh Jackman. That said...
Which was something that actually needed to be redeemed. We didn't talk about it on our little teaser for X3, yeah. But, you know, Logan kind of walks through X3. Hugh Jackman specifically. Yeah. It's a very strange Logan. Probably the worst Logan we've ever had.
Yeah.
And he just seems not engaged. And on that front, this is refreshing.
Yeah.
I feel like so many of these X films fall into one of two categories, either surprising or disappointing. And we're kind of coming off 3 disappointing movies in this watch order where it's like X-Men First Class is a way better movie than all of these others.
Yeah.
But it still was kind of disappointing for where we thought it should be.
Right.
Obviously, Origins and X3, same thing, towards the bottom of the list. This is the first movie in the last 3 that I'd say maybe falls more into the surprising category. It's not great, but it's really not a terrible film.
Yeah.
And you start seeing Mangold, as you're saying, starting to correct some of the things that have haunted these last 3 films.
Yeah. It's interesting looking at what this movie is versus Logan. In my memory, I thought the Wolverine maybe was better than it is. So like there was a little bit of a disappointment factor for me. But I think that that's in part because, again, like the timing of when it came out and like compared to the last 2 times we had seen Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, it's night and day. I mean, like, it's so much more interesting. His performance, he's putting a lot into it. Like, it's not... Because even X-Men Origins, he did his best with it, and I think he's showing up way more there than he did in X3. But it's just the movie is so cheesy that it's hard to take any of it seriously.
Yeah, I guess maybe this might be the only film I'm thinking right now that could fall in the it is what it is category. It'd probably be the only one that I'd say on a rewatch, we both were like, okay.
Yeah. Like
that's how I remember it, kind of.
It's...
There's a weird samurai aspect.
Which I like that, but I think I wish it were just that. Like, I think now that... And maybe this is, you know, hindsight 2020, but talking about them kind of doing certain Wolverine things maybe a little bit to death, Logan does a lot of what the Wolverine is doing, but just way better. And I almost wish, like, had Mangold known that he was going to get the opportunity to do that full on in Logan, like, I don't know that I needed Logan to not have his healing factor.
Losing his powers, yeah.
Like I know that it raises the stakes, but I also kind of just, like, I think it would have been cool to change the scenery, change like his motivations. I really like the opening of this, like going back to Nagasaki and that relationship and him like coming over. Like basically every scene in this movie that features Hugh Jackman, I actually feel like I'm pretty happy with, but it's all the like peripheral stuff.
And the poisonous lady.
Man, the poisonous lady is one of the worst actors I've ever seen in a big picture film like this. Like,
again, ear muffet lady. Shots
I feel so
here.
bad, but it's like, dude,
no, he doesn't. As an update, he really doesn't feel that bad. Unless she's listening, and then he does.
I wish I could change it. No, you don't. No, I don't.
That's him.
Captain
America shout out.
I just think it's... I don't understand how that happens. I don't understand how no one is like, that's not quite it. Like, that's... No.
Guys, we really got something good here. How about we throw a venomous spitting lady in the middle of this? What do you think? Thoughts? Should we workshop it?
And everyone's just like unanimously yes.
You know what? Yes, that's what the film needed.
That is what's been wrong with this entire franchise.
It's not as bad as we're making it sound. Though.
No. Well, that is. She is as bad as we're making it sound.
And there is a version of Hawkeye that just kind of chills on the roof and nobody seems to care that he's up there until a fight breaks out. Then it's like, oh, wait, he was sitting up there.
And also, I just never really understand what that guy's doing. Like, we always get these shots of him like brooding, but I don't understand why we're supposed to care about his thoughts on anything.
And why he falls in love with half the characters, but then also doesn't know how to serve the family, but does serve. It's a weird role. Just forget it.
And again, the thing with Wolverine, like that's the only other thing. It didn't bother me as much as I remembered it bothering me on this watch, because ultimately there's going to be a huge age gap between Wolverine and anybody that he's with. Like,
oh boy,
at this point when you're talking about her versus Jean, it's like, maybe they're 20 years apart, but for him that doesn't really matter.
Here we go.
But it does feel weird. There's something in it that feels weird. Like, logically you can explain to me why it shouldn't, but it does.
It's a little Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. Well, you know why? I think I know why it feels weird. It feels weird because we have seen Logan made out as this protective figure. Lean into the father thing only to then have them sleep together. Yeah.
Gets a little weird.
That's the betrayal aspect. Yeah. Like where point. It's like, okay, we're introduced to him like taking care of Rogue.
Yeah, it's not like the first second of the movie they're a love interest. It's kind of like he's trying to help her, and then eventually it leads to some stuff.
It's like, that's
all right. Well, it's a little bit weird, but it's not a terrible film. If you want to hear this entire banger of an episode, check out all of our podcast episodes in this X-Men journey on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.